Welcome back to the Football Terrace. It's 5 p.m. This is the Terrace Live. So much news to talk about today. Thierry Henry, very close to being announced as the Bournemouth manager. That is, yes, huge news. It's huge news to see a Premier League legend get another opportunity at managing a good-sized club in Bournemouth as he builds on his managerial career. We're here to talk Chelsea Football Club. Some interesting articles I've read from fans about feeling disconnected from their club since the sacking of Frank Lampard. A number of players reportedly on the chopping blocks as well. We're going to be going through that. Jose Mourinho. We're joined by huge Spurs fan, Toby, from the Touchline Fracas group, here to talk Tottenham along with the rest of the panel. And we're really going to be delving into what's going on with Jose. Is he going to stay? Is he going to remain? What should happen moving forward? Jack Grealish to Arsenal is an interesting rumour that we've all seen circulate again in the last 24 hours. Egal is here to talk to us about that. We're going to be speaking Kylian Mbappe and many other football subjects. Do me a favour, smash the living daylights out of the like button right now, please. Get that done. Hit it. Share this on your social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, with friends of WhatsApp groups. You're probably in about 30 WhatsApp groups. So share it in there. Get people to come along and get involved now. Let's jump straight over to our panel. We also got a debutant on tonight as well from a Chelsea point of view. You know, Egal's here. You know, Toby's here. We've seen Toby before on that Tottenham show hosted by Eleanor. But tonight, Lawrence Viscoli, Chelsea fan, making his debut on the Football Terrace. Gentlemen, how are you all?
I'm good, man. Thank you. I'm good.
Good.
Chilling.
It's nice getting some new. Last week or so, lots of new faces on here. Lawrence, thank you. Well, thank you for coming on and welcome. Thanks for making your debut on the terrace today.
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, looking forward to this, talking some football. Also talking things outside of Chelsea, which is obviously what I usually do. So, looking forward to this.
Good. I don't. One sec. I'll address one thing. There's some madness going on in the comment section. Moderators, behave yourselves, all of you. Just all relax a little bit. You ain't got to swear and shout at each other. If you don't get on, ignore each other. I'm going to be breaking you up like kids here. My moderators are literally fighting with one another. Slow yourself down. And members, calm yourselves down. We're here to talk football. Let's talk about it. Where to start is a big question. I want to start with Tottenham. I want to start with Jose Mourinho if we can, and go to Toby first on this. I mean, literally when I'm on socials, Eleanor wants him out. I've had Jake on the show, wants him out. You've got other people, for instance, Mel is very much, well, you know what Jose's about. When you hire him, he's got to be given time to win. Where do you stand on this debate? And do you see Jose's time at Tottenham being cut short?
I want his time at Tottenham to be cut short, but do I see it happening? Hard to tell, because we have an owner who is literally infatuated with Jose Mourinho, worships the ground he walks on. He's always wanted Jose Mourinho, and he feels like the very fact that he's been able to get a manager of Jose Mourinho's stature to our club represents the type of progress that we've made during his tenure as the owner. So unfortunately for me, I don't think Jose is going anywhere anytime soon, but I believe that he needs to go. I wouldn't have given him the job in the first place. I actively spoke out against hiring the type of manager Jose Mourinho is in the event that they were going to do the unthinkable and sack Pochettino. I was very vocal on that. I was very vocal when he first got the job that I don't like this guy at our club, because for where we want to be, for the type of way our club is run, it's a bad fit. I feel like no matter how ambitious Daniel Levy is, no matter how ambitious we were in the final season with Pochettino, with the likes of Ndombele, etc., spending more than we normally do, I felt as if that we're always going to be a club that needs a manager who can maximize every single bit of quality from every single player in our team, and can do that whilst playing a progressive and sustainable brand of football. And these are things that this guy can't do. Forget the fact that we've lost 5 out of our last 6 games, and the fact that we've literally accumulated 12 points from our last 12 games, which is ridiculously terrible form for any side in the Premier League, let alone a side that are aspiring to be a top 4 side. But you can't just put that on him. You can't put that all down to Jose Mourinho. But fundamentally, he's a bad fit at the club. As I said, I've been laboring over this point week in, week out. I've been saying this for months, possibly even years now. Jose Mourinho is not the type of guy to turn lemon into lemonade. That's not his bag. He goes out and he buys the lemonade from the store and he wins trophies. In fact, that's what he used to do, because he can't even do that anymore. He got all the lemonade he wanted at Man United up until the last season. And look what happened. We had a decent first season with success and trophies, a good second season, but 20 points off top. And third season, it all went crashing down. So at Spurs now, unfortunately for Jose Mourinho, we have a lot of lemons. As Fuad from Stoppage Time says, crusty lemons. Crusty. We have so many bad, rotten players. And it's literally going to take a manager who thrives on getting the best out of duds right now, and that's not him. It's never going to be him.
I hear you on that. When I look at this whole situation, I actually think he's cards are being marked at the minute. The way the stories came out in the last few days around they're monitoring Julian Nagelsmann, but Jose's in no immediate danger. The kind of leaked story that came out yesterday, it made me chuckle about. The words were Harry Kane tells his friend that he's behind Jose Mourinho 100%, and he believes that Jose's approach to the game can spearhead a good run at the end of the season. I just thought, I can't imagine Kane using any of those words, right? It just all feels a little bit sort of fictitious in relation to that. But you're right. The quality of the squad, the amount of money that the club is willing to spend, mixed with Jose Mourinho and his brand of football, it just feels like a disaster from Daniel Levy appointing him. Lawrence, from your point of view, you've obviously got good and bad memories, I suppose, with Jose Mourinho. Do you see this ending well for Tottenham?
It's a difficult one, Jose, because obviously they're Chelsea fans, and at least most of us, obviously there are a few exceptions, will always hold Jose Mourinho very highly because of what he achieved with us, and realistically the winners he turned us into. And I mean, his squad, ended up still being the spine of the squad when we won the Champions League in 2012. But we also all have to understand that ever since, his last season at Chelsea, really, his Man United days, yes, he won the Europa League, but is Jose really going to big up the bloody Europa League? Do you know what I mean? And, a League Cup final, which he kind of somehow dodgily won against Southampton, if I remember correctly. It's a bit weird. I always thought when he went to Spurs, is that what's going to go well for him? I don't really know. At the same time, can you actually go to Spurs and expect any manager to go and have any manager be there and expect him to win anything? Like, I'm not saying Spurs are a small club or Spurs can't win anything, but I'm not sure Spurs haven't won anything. So can you expect it from any manager to win anything? Of course, Jose Mourinho was brought in to do exactly that. But do Spurs actually have the squad to win anything? Like, if you compare their squads to the rest of the top 6, top 7, top 8, whatever you want to call it these days, do they actually have a realistic chance of winning anything other than maybe like a League Cup if they happen to, somehow beat City in that final? Because, yeah, they have Son. Yeah, they have Harry Kane. But other than that, it's a little bit more limited. Obviously, Lloris is a decent goalkeeper and they have good players. But do they have a Man City squad? Do they have a Liverpool squad? Do they even have a Chelsea squad? As much as we've had a fairly poor season, for the past 2 months before Tuchel came in, they don't have anywhere near the squad that we do. So can you actually sit there and expect Tottenham to win anything? I don't know. And this is not defending Jose because, he plays some of the worst football you can possibly try to watch these days. But I don't know if it's not a bit much to say you expect him to win something, and that should be the level, obviously, to go by. But, of course, he's also way off top 4, really. So, yeah, will he survive it? I don't know. But was it ever going to work out? I don't think so. I think it was always going to be a risk because it was the first not proper winners club since Porto, really. And Porto obviously do it on the Portuguese stage, but not, on a global stage, shall we say.
Yeah, I get it. It's so hard. The kind of Porto model's hard as well because football's changed so much with the finances now where it's harder for these clubs in Portugal, in France, barring Paris Saint-Germain, to hold on to good quality players in the way they did. Like, if you go back and look at that Porto team, there are some serious ballers in it. It wasn't just a bunch of average players at the Portuguese level that he created a great team out of. There was Deco, Carvalho, just to name a couple, and I'm sure there's more if you go through it. Egal, you're obviously an Arsenal fan, so Spurs struggling is obviously music to your ears in so many ways. Do you feel like the writing's on the wall for Jose? Because a lot of talk this week about new managers being looked at. The bad run of form's got to change. Do you think he'll survive the end of the season? Do you think he'll get another year? What do you think's going on?
I'm not sure if you guys see what I'm seeing, but when I actually look at Spurs and I see Jose Mourinho, I don't feel like he's a man that's under pressure. I don't feel like he's a man that's at the end of his time at Tottenham. When you looked at him at Manchester United and Chelsea, you could see the physical stress in his face every time he went into a press conference, every time he was on the pitch, you could see the stress on his face. Right now, this is still early Jose, and I feel like if they do win that game against Man City in the League Cup and they finally do get a trophy, he'll say, hey, here's something to show you guys that if you guys give me more time, I'll get something. And to me, my whole take on it is, if Tottenham fans and Tottenham people in general, who are you guys to insult Jose and in the short time that he's been there, when the time that he's been in the Premier League has won more Premier League trophies than you guys have won in your whole entirety of the history of your club. You guys have 2, he has 3 by himself. That just goes to show you he can bring a winning mentality and bring you guys forward. Because before Jose came in, you had no league winners in your side. First thing he does, he brings in Reguilon, he brings in Bale, he brings in these guys who have won it before to give some more experience to the team. And that is the first kind of early steps that you need to build a winning side. And I think he might be doing that.
Toby looks like he's not agreeing there.
I'm not agreeing at all. You're talking about stuff that he's won at other clubs. What does that have to do with Spurs right now? We're talking about Jose Mourinho now, and I feel like when we speak about Jose Mourinho, he gets let off way too easily because of his legacy. We know that his legacy is an elite legacy. We know that he is going to go down as arguably the greatest manager of his generation. But the Jose Mourinho that we're looking at now is not the same Jose Mourinho that could win trophies before. It's not the same Jose Mourinho that could galvanize a team and turn them from pretenders into contenders. He's not that same manager anymore. So I'm not really sure what it is you're seeing that makes you believe that he still is, because we were always going to improve our team anyway. Yes, he was able to attract maybe better names to our club than we would have had we had a different manager there. But him signing Pierre Højbjerg isn't down to him being this elite manager. We were interested in Højbjerg anyway. For me, I'm tired of hearing about his achievements when it comes to how we want our team to be managed, because it's not helping us. What are those trophies doing for us when he's putting 10 men behind the ball against Brighton? How is that winning mentality? That doesn't make sense to me. So when Spurs fans are airing their grievances about this manager, we're doing it with just reason. We're doing it with just cause, because there is ample evidence to suggest that he is not getting the best out of our team. We can talk about the squad quality all day long, and it plays a huge part. Like Lawrence was saying earlier on, is the squad good enough to compete in the top 4? I don't think so. At the start of the season, we were saying, oh, if Jose Mourinho doesn't get top 4, then he has to get sacked. Now, I don't think it's no longer the case, because everyone can see now that our team clearly isn't good enough to finish in the top 4.
What are your expectations?
What
What are your expectations? What are your expectations with Tottenham though for this season? Because that kind of confuses me. Because at one point you guys looked like you guys were going to challenge for a league title. Now you guys are looking like you're not even going to get top 4. So what were your expectations? And is it because of your expectations at the beginning of the season that you want him gone, or is it because of the style of play and everything else that you mentioned?
It's everything. My expectations for Spurs at the start of the season was to get top 4 and to win a trophy. Yeah. I thought that the squad was good enough to get top 4. As the season has progressed, we can clearly see that some players who have been performing badly for the last 12, 18 months, where we thought they were going to improve, they haven't improved. They've only got worse. Add to the fact as well that we're now out of the FA Cup. We're still in the Europa League. We're still in the League Cup. Albeit obviously it's a final against Man City. So at least getting a trophy is very much still possible. And even getting Champions League through the Europa League is very much still possible. But ultimately, I just don't want this guy out. Even if he wins the League Cup, I don't want him here.
I think what Toby's saying there stands out. What stands out massively is there was this expectation. If you look at Dele Alli as a case in point, that Jose would revitalize him and bring the very best out of him again. And I remember the first couple of. Do you remember that thing he did, Dele Alli, where he fell off the pitch, but still managed to keep the ball in play, and Spurs went on to score from there. There was this whole that's what Jose is going to bring out of him. It just hasn't happened. And the one thing I noticed at Tottenham, above and beyond the tactics and everything else, is Jose just doesn't look, for me, happy. There has already been a lot of, seems to be fallings out with certain players. The Gareth Bale situation should already be a concern, because when Jose Mourinho behind the scenes becomes unhappy, It doesn't matter how good he is. It doesn't matter if it's now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's curtains. He becomes too toxic, and things fall apart anyway. We're going to move on and talk a bit of Chelsea in a moment. I do want to touch on Arsenal for a bit. There's a big rumor about Jack Grealish. Before we go any further, everyone who's tuning in, do us a favor and smash the like button before you forget. Hit it right now. Subscribe to the Football Terrace and turn on your bell notifications as well. These gentlemen will be able to tell you later on today where you can find them on their social media platforms. Over 1,000 people watching us live right now. Arsenal, though, Egal. You sent a big link into the group chat earlier on today. You've been talking about it on this channel for a while now, saying Jack Grealish to Arsenal, Jack Grealish to Arsenal, Jack Grealish to Arsenal. There's a big story today in the newspaper, or an article in the newspaper about Jack Grealish to Arsenal. Do you really think that's conceivable? Do you really think that's happening?
100%. I believe that Arsenal are looking at it, and they're considering it for numerous reasons. And here's some of those reasons. One, with Ozil leaving, we have a massive player out the wage bill. On top of that, marketability, Mesut Ozil's marketability, and Jack Grealish's marketability. I would say Jack Grealish would basically take the fold as the main shirt seller, as the main marketable player for Arsenal. And on the pitch, he would be a leader. He would be a player who can play a plethora of positions and come in with his versatility to assist the team, and just his ability to take a team, push them forward in the attacking side of things. Now, when it comes to the financial side, you guys talk about how can Arsenal afford this. Realistically, Arsenal still can't afford to buy players. Be it 72 million with Pepe, be it 56 million with Aubameyang, be it 40 to 50 million with Lacazette. And if we want to drop 100 million on Jack Grealish, the team could probably do that. It's just, will they do that? I don't know. I hope they can. And if you look at it, if we're looking to sell Guendouzi, Torreira, Lacazette, Eddie Nketiah, all these players, there's somebody big is coming in. And if that big whale that's coming in is Jack Grealish, I would be gassed, because that's a Premier League proven player that can fix our team and push us forward for the future, for the next 5 to 10 years.
Lawrence, do you see Arsenal landing Jack Grealish this summer?
See, I totally get the point that Arsenal can probably afford him if they want to, if, their owners decide to, we will actually give you this much money. Obviously, that with Arsenal is always a different kind of question. But if a bigger and better club wants him, well, then he's not going Arsenal. Like, Arsenal are totally dependent on who else wants Grealish. Like, even if Manchester United want Grealish, if Man City want Grealish, even if Chelsea want Grealish, Arsenal are not getting Grealish. Arsenal haven't played Champions League football in so long, they don't even know how the anthem goes anymore. Like, Arsenal fans need to get it out of their head that they can just get these big players all of the bloody time, like left, right, and centre. Like, I know they signed Pepe, but no one else big was in for Pepe. You just paid a lot of money for it.
That's not true, yeah.
But yeah, okay, I'm not saying no one else was in it, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't like that you were fighting Real Madrid for it. Like,
the thing is with that whole Pepe deal as well, and I think Egal said that if we need to give 100, like, we have the money to spend 100 million on Jack Grealish, especially with so many players going out. The Pepe deal worked out because you was allowed to pay in installments over a number of years. Aston Villa won't allow that. They will want a big, hefty lump sum right at the start and then some installments afterwards. And I don't think personally Arsenal want to operate like that. I don't think they will operate like that. Jack Grealish is a player that teams like Man City and Manchester United have looked at. Chelsea are looking at him, and I'm pretty sure there'll probably be teams abroad that would even take a punt on Jack Grealish, really. So when you put all those things together, plus Aston Villa potentially getting Europe over Arsenal, there's so many things that would have to go Arsenal's way that I feel like it's out of the picture. It's just completely out of the picture.
Can I say something, KJ? Since when are fans in charge of Arsenal's financial balance sheets? How is it that every single fan knows that Arsenal cannot afford this player?
I didn't say you couldn't afford it, though, did I? Did I say you couldn't afford it?
No,
I said
you said in other terms.
That.
Yeah, but how do you know that that's how we're not going to operate?
Because history proves that you will.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true, because history, the recent history is Thomas Partey. We were willing to go straight to La Liga and drop 45 million. That's not recent history.
No, you weren't. You weren't willing to do that, because otherwise you would have done that straight at the start of summer, because the price didn't change.
The fact is that we did do it.
The release clause didn't change. That didn't change. You could have got Thomas Partey done at the start of the transfer window and do everything else. The fact that you left it so late shows a reluctance to actually go out and spend those kind of money in that way.
That doesn't show. That's not
Yes,
what
it
necessarily
does.
happened. What happened was Arsenal did not want to show their hand to other clubs that they were willing to spend that type of money on Thomas Partey before they could get other deals over the line. It was a strategic move from the club in the first place. That's what I genuinely believe.
Egal though. Listen, I think I'm going to go to Toby in a minute on this. I think Lawrence gets it bang on. Arsenal, if they're willing to spend the money, could potentially land him. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But if Man United, if Manchester City, if Liverpool, to name just three, go toe-to-toe with you, it isn't happening. The problem is with the article you've read as well. I've had a look through it. There's not a single link. There's not a single link to Arsenal to Jack Grealish. It is a journalist who I've never heard of breaking down. He basically says in one of the sentences, if Arsenal are prepared to spend big money this summer, here's a list of players that I think they should sign. It's for me, I feel like you're getting your hopes up and they're going to be seriously dashed. Jack Grealish coming, I just can't see it. Toby, do you see Jack Grealish going from Villa to Arsenal where they currently stand, mate?
I can actually see it. I'm not even going to lie to you. I can see it. As bad as Arsenal are, as much as I want to say no, I can actually see it. As poor as they are, the fact that obviously they've not been in the Champions League for years, they still have that clout. They still have that clout in their ability to attract players. But I totally agree with Lawrence on this. To almost expect that Arsenal are going to sign him this summer, I can't. As you said, Arsenal signing Jack Grealish isn't going to be down to their power as a football club. It's going to be down to how other clubs maneuver through the window. If Man City decide that they want to jump in for Jack Grealish, it's a wrap. If Man United, I don't know, for whatever reason, Paul Pogba doesn't sign a new deal and he goes on to a new club this summer and they reshuffle their team and they throw their hat into the ring, we'll go to Man United. I feel like ultimately Jack Grealish, as much of a poor as Arsenal are in terms of a name, he wants to be playing Champions League football now. He is at a level where he should be playing Champions League football. He should be playing right at the top of the food chain. And if you go to Arsenal right now, as he's seen from Thomas Partey this season, that's not going to be a step up. Thomas Partey left Atletico Madrid now. They're a side that are looking like they're going to win the La Liga this season. They're preparing for their Champions League tie against Chelsea next week. Meanwhile, he's having to play with Xhaka in the Europa League. You just have to be realistic. Can Arsenal sign Jack Grealish realistically? Yes. Will Jack Grealish have better options than Arsenal? Also, yes.
Yeah,
Listen,
I hear that. Go on.
I'll be the first one to concede and say, hey, if City come in with a similar amount of price or Manchester United come in with a similar amount of wages, he most likely would probably go to the club that can offer him more in the long run. But what Arsenal can offer him would be attractive, even if Aston Villa were in a European position and Arsenal were not in a European position. And I genuinely believe if no one else came in for him and Arsenal were still we're not in a European position, he would still come to us due to the fact that we would be able to boost his profile in the world stage. Don't forget who Arsenal are. As bad as we have been over the past couple of weeks, we are still a top club in this world, and we still have the pulling power to get players. And don't forget, for his own brand, we'd be able to push him further. This is a man who's going to be playing for England in the Euros and the World Cup coming soon. If he's at Arsenal, that's a bigger platform for him to grow his brand as a player and as an individual, and that's something you guys also have to factor in.
Yeah,
well, yeah,
I think you're negating
the obvious though.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Isn't that stating the obvious? Oh, Jack Grealish would choose Arsenal.
No, but Tobes. This is what I'm saying though. I think Egal's negating the factor of what love actually means to footballers, especially it's home when you're homegrown at that club. You know what I'm saying? Like Jack Grealish only was about to join Tottenham because they was in the Championship. That move fell through. He got injured, came back, and worked his way back up for Aston Villa. He's now really at a point in this team where it's like, actually, he could build a legacy there. If they get European football, Jack Grealish is not leaving unless it's for a Champions League team. He's not. Because what's the point? You've done all of this with your boyhood club to get them there, and a team that are not in Europe are going to come in and try and buy you. Why would you leave that when you've got making something here at your club? And I think, yes, his legacy will be like increased a little bit by Arsenal at the moment. But what he's doing at Aston Villa, if they get European football, I'm sorry, Egal, if Arsenal don't get Europa League minimum, he won't leave.
Listen, I hear that as well. I've got a little thing. Sorry, just one sec, Egal. This is nothing to do with the stream. Moderators in the chat, you're there to moderate spamming, racism, sexism. When you're not here to get into fights and arguments with people, that's in all directions. Can you just stop, all of you? Because I don't need the distraction while I'm trying to do a goddamn show. I don't care who started it, whatever. I'm just finishing it. You're here to moderate chat and then put your comments in. Like, swear. I've just seen you all swearing at each other, shouting at each other. Madness. Like, stop it now. Just literally stop. That's it. Point blank. There's no debating it. Please get that done. Egal, I understand where you're coming from, but I listen to what Toby said, Lawrence has said as well. I just wouldn't be getting my hopes up as a Gooner. The likelihood of you guys signing him is so slim. It's unbelievable. And these articles, of course, for an Arsenal writer and you've got an unlimited budget, why would Jack Grealish not be in your list? But the guy might as well have put Mbappe on the list. Bro.
If you look at the list, you look at that list.
Mbappe on the list.
Or you look at that list. He also said Camavinga, Lautaro Martinez, who's been quoted for £100 million, and Jules Koundé, who's also been quoted for 70 million. So it was a wish list. It was a wish list. And going off that report, you can't use that as a thing to say, yes, Arsenal are going in for Jack Grealish. You can't. It's a wish list. That's all it is.
Who was the reporter?
I never heard of him. He's called Josh Chalice, I think his name is, or something.
So it didn't even come from Ornstein or
no links,
or what?
Yeah, it's Josh Chalice.
Okay,
Josh Chalice.
Listen,
I mean,
this is not the first. This is not the first.
Even in the article, Egal, there isn't even a link. It isn't like after Fabrizio's report on his podcast today, I've made a response. It's just literally a guy saying, "This is who I'd sign if I had an unlimited pot of money." It's like me saying, if I was a billionaire, I'd buy this yacht. Yeah, but I ain't a billionaire, so I ain't getting the yacht. I just think you should be careful. Like your hopes, bro. That's how I feel about this.
And plus, if you are re-signing Dani Ceballos like we've been hearing, Matt Ryan, and also potentially Odegaard, who people think he could become a Jack Grealish level player, if not better. Why would Arsenal then go and sign Jack Grealish with those three, with Dani Ceballos and Odegaard in the squad?
Okay, so realistically, the situation at Arsenal is that we're gonna let Mesut Ozil go. We're most likely gonna try to let go of Torreira and Guendouzi, right? We might sign Dani Ceballos or Odegaard. We're not going to sign both of them. And Matt Ryan's a backup goalkeeper. That doesn't really affect the situation in the outfield. So with Jack Grealish, I get it that it's a fan theory and the guy that wrote the article, but there's also been numerous links from former players, ex-pros, all these other links. So it's not the first time. It hasn't been a direct source.
Egal, you've got a menace. I'm not even being rude, bruv. You've got to learn to read these articles properly. What often happens with these newspapers is Tim Sherwood, right, not long ago did a thing where he literally come out and said, I think Man United should go out and get Jack Grealish. That got twisted into a headline that read Man United to sign Jack Grealish. You read the first two paragraphs, which is generic nonsense, and then you get to the bit where it basically says this all stems from Tim Sherwood, ex-Villa manager, saying Man United should do this. So there's no real article, there's no real story. It's just a newspaper reiterating and reconstructing a sentence from Tim Sherwood. Like, for me, unless you're seeing Fabrizio Romano, Ornstein, as an example, say Arsenal have made inquiries, Arsenal have spoken to Jack Grealish's people, there's zero connection, mate. There's none. Even if Thierry Henry does an interview and says, if I was the Arsenal manager, I would sign Jack Grealish, that's not a link, bruv. That's just an opinion from an ex-player. It doesn't... I'm just saying this to you because I think you're going to end up getting your hopes up and you're not going to end up with Jack Grealish. You're going to end up with Lamella or someone, bro. I don't know who you're going to sign, but it's not going to be Jack Grealish. We've got some super chats to do here. The first one says, who saw Greenwood?
Oi, Bun is brother.
No idea what that's all about. I mean,
you see, I need to stop. Yeah, people on social media need to stop going after Mason Greenwood, bruv. Man can't breathe without people trying to create rumors about him, trying to paint him with this brush. Leave the kid alone. Leave him alone. He's out here, got a new contract from Man United, and he's just trying to live. That what was put out today could be easily doctored to be something else that it's not. And even if he was, and what?
This is 2021 England. If a man wants to date a barrage balloon, he's allowed to. So if you've got that's what I say to anyone. I haven't heard about these rumors because my timelines are like doctored to a point where I don't see nonsense anymore. The amount of people I mute. If you've got an issue with a footballer dating someone who you don't consider to be part of conformity, you're the one with the problem, not them. Simple as that. Someone here says, Terry, can you ask Strip Bear to stop bullying me? Oh, Strip Bear's come back with a super chat and says, because nice. Like mean it. So mean to me, men best respect it. I don't know what that means, Strip Bear. Listen, you're not here to talk to each other. You're here to talk. Us. Talk about the football. If someone's nasty to you, like the best way to shut them up is ignore them. Trust me. Just talk football. I don't know what's going on to this is madness. Weirdest stream ever. Anyway, we're going to go on to talk, excuse me, Chelsea in a few moments. Before that, I wanted to just touch on Kylian Mbappe a little bit because last night really felt like a passing of the torch moment where Kylian Mbappe, he's been around for years, but there was almost just that kind of coming of age in the Champions League. He was against Barcelona, knockout stage football, Messi being on the pitch as well. Toby, from your point of view, are we looking at currently the sort of the best player in the world, future Ballon d'Or winner? How good in the grand scheme of things is Mbappe and how good will he become?
I don't think he's the best player in the world, but I definitely think we are seeing someone who will win the Ballon d'Or in the next couple of years because the level that he's been playing at pretty much since he came out the gate at Monaco has been unbelievable. We were discussing this on a stream I was on earlier today, Matisse, fellow Chelsea fan, Lawrence, and we were discussing what it means to be generational and whatnot, and that word gets thrown around too often, but Mbappe is legitimately a generational player. Like, he is unbelievable. I feel like his performance at the Nou Camp was a long time coming because, I mean, he was in the Champions League final last year and he choked. Let's be real. He choked. He put in a very, very poor performance. The season before that, when PSG got dumped out by Man United, he did his thing in the away leg.
Yeah, he just doesn't like United coming to his gaff. He gets shook, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so exactly. So he did his thing there, and then in the return leg, he missed a couple of chances. And then even this season, when Man United went there as well, wasn't his best game. So, but we all knew the quality. Like, that game was a long time coming. That was just there to serve as a reminder that, like, yo, I'm here. Like, I'm here in it, and I'm still one of the best attackers on the planet. And I think with him, he's an unbelievable footballer, and I feel like he is, like I said, he is someone who you see him and you're like, if you don't win a Ballon d'Or, you're at least once in your career, then something's gone wrong.
Corruption, bro. You know what I'm saying? If he does not win a Ballon d'Or, there is corruption at FIFA. We already know there is. It will just confirm it. That's how good that kid is. That's how good he is.
No, I hear that. I think. Do you know what's mad about it? He didn't have a great Champions League final. The problem that we have now as football fans, there always seems to be a group of football fans who are ready to pounce upon particular players. And you could have, Marcus Rashford's a prime example. Pogba's another. Stand out to me as a United fan. I'm sure you all have individuals at your clubs. Mason Mount gets this at Chelsea. They could play 10, 15, 20 games on the bounce and be impeccable. They have one bad performance or it's one big game where they're not great. And it's like, see, I told you he weren't as good as you all make he is.
Exactly, yep.
And it's mad. And the thing is, I never profess to watch European football. I do generally call most people out to be liars who say, I watch all the Premier League, all of La Liga, all of Serie A. I'm like, listen, bro, I don't think there's enough hours in the day to actually do that. So I think you're lying. Because if you did, you'd know that Messi and even Messi and Ronaldo at their pomp weren't amazing in every single game. They would still have quiet matches, if that makes sense. And they're the greatest of the last 25 years, in my opinion. But yeah, the Mbappe thing for me, it was really good to see him turn up and do what he does. And you're right as well, Toby. The generational talent thing does get thrown around a bit too much. Just like the term world class does as well. I suppose the biggest issue is always what does generational talent mean? Everyone's got a different kind of definition. Where I'm envious of Mbappe from a Man United fan's point of view, and I'm sure I'm going to go to Lawrence on this in a second, may feel the same, is we've all got great talented youngsters at our clubs, but it's about who you get to manage you. Like Mbappe's been fairly fortunate, in my opinion, that so far in his career, he's primarily had managers that want to attack, that are more progressive and more modern thinking. Jardim, Tuchel, now he's got Maurizio Pochettino. You think about Callum Hudson-Odoi and his development or lack thereof so far at Chelsea with the managers he's had. You think about Rashford, who's been coaching him through these things. How desperate are you to see someone like Hudson-Odoi maybe under Thomas Tuchel, Lawrence, be set free and coached and developed in the same way as Kylian Mbappe to maybe go out there and rival him on the European or domestic scale?
Yeah, that is a good point. Obviously, under Frank Lampard, it was always a bit of a weird thing. I mean, Lampard promoted all of these youth players, but the one that got kind of left behind a little bit was Callum Hudson-Odoi. Of course, he had that terrible Achilles injury and obviously was coming back for that. And people sometimes underestimate, just because you're back fit and you are able to play, to get over such a big injury actually takes a few months more than just being fit to play. So we have to give that little bit of like benefit of the doubt to Lampard, I guess. But in comparison to Mbappe, as much like I love Callum Hudson-Odoi, right? And I think he can do big things for Chelsea and in the Premier League. Do I think he is and will be on the level of Mbappe? Probably not. But I also don't think Mbappe will ever get to the level of a Messi and Ronaldo. Because what people need to realize as well, some people might claim, oh, we watch La Liga and we watch Serie A and we watch Bundesliga. But no one can tell me they watch Ligue 1 every week. No one does that other than French people. And, that just doesn't happen. So watch the odd Champions League game by Mbappe and then say he's this or he's that is a bit silly. Whether he has a good or a great game or a bad game doesn't really matter. It's one game. People need to stop judging people off one game.
Sorry, one question. Has someone got a phone near their microphone? It's weird. We're just getting that, when
I can hear it.
I don't know where it's coming from. Never. I don't know whether it's. You have to dash your phone like that, bro. I hear that as well. From your point of view, Egal, I mean, I know you've got a couple of really talented youngsters, the Sakas and the Smith Rowes at your club. What's your interpretation of Kylian Mbappe? Because I made this claim last night and I stand by it. At 22 years old, he's better than Thierry Henry was at that age. And I honestly feel this isn't an attack at Henry. I rate Henry as the greatest ever Premier League player before you get your knickers in a twist. I think with what Mbappe's already achieved and how good he is at 22, I think he's going to go on to maybe even rival the Messis and Ronaldos. I think when you think of him as a French player, I think he'll be even better than Thierry Henry. That's how good I think he is. Where do you look at him as a player, and could he surpass the great Thierry Henry?
I feel like Mbappe is on the trajectory to overtake Messi and Ronaldo in the long run as the greatest player in the in world football in Europe, right? But right now he hasn't been tested as much as some of these other teams have been tested. Yes, he's done it in Europe, and yes, he does it in Ligue 1, and he's won at Monaco and he's won at PSG. But I want to see him challenge himself and either go to La Liga or the Premier League. And you know what? I don't even rate the Italian League or the Bundesliga as high as I rate La Liga or the Premier League. So I would like to see him in one of those two leagues to see if he can transition and do as well over there. Because just to take a little bit away from him, Lacazette was scoring how many goals over there? He came over here, wasn't doing as well. We've seen players all over the world doing well in their respective leagues, but then when they go to La Liga or the Premier League, they don't do as well. So I'd like to see him outside of his comfort zone of playing in France and playing in a different league to see how he accustoms to that. And also the World Cup. He's playing for France. He played well. He did well. But him winning the World Cup so young and not originally being such a big cog in that team a couple years before that and coming in and setting it on fire, that was a big part of him coming to the progression of that to where he is right now. But I still want to see him in either La Liga or the Premier League.
I thought he's going to say something mad there, like, he's
I'm a France fan. I love the guy.
Yeah, I thought he's going to say, like, his World Cup, you can't take his World Cup win seriously because he's in this France team. Oh, but you didn't. Thank the Lord. I was about to cuss you. In terms of Kylian Mbappe, and Egal makes a good point in terms of he's been in the league, so he's been allowed to develop in that league. Like, I would love to see a Rashford, a Greenwood, Saka, Cho, Foden, in a Bundesliga, in a league on, because you're allowed to grow in those leagues. You're allowed to develop in these leagues. And in the Premier League, it's very unforgiving. And I think that's what also doesn't help our younger players. And that's why it's harder for our younger players to become the top, because it's an unforgiving league. You can't be a young player and fail 2-3 times a game and every week in, week out, because there's so much money on the line. It's not even just about the teams in the league. There's so much money on the line, especially for top teams. They don't allow themselves the time to bed in young players who can become. Man City have done it with Foden, and they did it really well. And Liverpool and Trent. But the likes of Greenwood and Rashford, there are levels that can go up. But because of Man United, where they are and how much pressure is on them, is it too much for them to develop like that?
Yeah, but you say pressure. You say that Mbappe has been allowed to grow in France. Yeah, he has, but we also need to remember that Mbappe was bought for like 160 million at the age of 19. If that's not pressure, then I don't know what is. He was literally bought to be PSG's deadly duo alongside Neymar, and he has been nothing short of fantastic for them since he's joined. I get the notion that yes, we probably do want to see Mbappe play in the traditionally tougher leagues like the Premier League, like La Liga, and you expect that he'll go there at some point in his career. But what he's done, even in that French league at this age, is remarkable. Because if you look at his scoring, if you look at the rate in which he's scoring, Lacazette wasn't scoring the number of goals that Mbappe at the rate Mbappe is scoring now. He wasn't. He's already PSG's third ever top goal scorer in the entire.
Well, to be fair, it's not hard. To be fair, PSG.
we say that, but the two names above him are Cavani and Ibrahimovic, and he's this is what, his 4th season at PSG. In addition to that as well, it wasn't just like he was part of a French winning team. He was like top 3 best players in a French winning World Cup team at the age of 19, 20 years old, literally carrying that attack, because we all know how Didier Deschamps sets up his team. He's a very pragmatic coach, and he wants them to stay compact, stay disciplined, and hit teams on the counter. And Mbappe was pivotal to that, because you saw how devastating he was on the break. So for me, he did it in the World Cup. He's done it in the Champions League for 2 different teams. He's been doing it in the French league as well. I think we need to stop saying this thing about, I want to see him do it in a tougher league, because he's doing it right now.
Yeah. To be fair, my point was.
Let me just come back.
One second ago. My point wasn't against Mbappe, by the way. If people are confused, my point was literally more about why our talent over here find it harder to reach those levels so early compared to an Mbappe. Mbappe's freaking levels, man. It's freaking amazing.
To be fair, Mbappe is probably better than every single player in the Premier League. So who knows how Mbappe will.
Actually, let's discuss. Let's discuss.
You know what? On a few things that have been said there, a few people here are saying, Terry, it's too, like he said to Terry, you're so reactionary, it's actually ugly. The thing is with Mbappe, I'm not reacting to Mbappe's not been some young kid that we've all said's good, and suddenly last night he's got a hat-trick against Barcelona. That's reactionary. Mbappe's been performing since 17, 18 at this level. Last night just felt like a passing of the torch moment. Man scored in a World Cup final 2 years ago. So to say it's reactionary, no. Equally, he has to continue on this trajectory to go in front of a Thierry Henry. But in my opinion, it isn't disrespectful to Thierry Henry to say that Kylian Mbappe could surpass him as a football player in terms of goals, assists, performances, trophies, and everything that actually matters for an attacking player. And it doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Thierry Henry. It's like Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. They've pretty much surpassed everybody else from an attacking point of view, for skills, goals, longevity, trophies. It's just the nature of the beast. And we're looking at an absolute phenom here that we should just be celebrating and be happy that we're about to witness another great player for the next 10, 12 years of his life entertain us and enthrall us. And in some cases, for some of us here, he's going to break our hearts a few times, because over the next 10 years, Mbappe is going to be that Messi, that Ronaldo guy that knocks some of our teams out of competitions. It's just going to happen. And it's our country at football. It's as simple as that. In terms of the statement you made there, Loz, saying he's better than every single player in the Premier League? Are you saying?
I meant at his age.
Oh, okay.
People forget how young he is. I mean, it is even an argument to be made. Which Premier League player could you fully say is better than him? You can make a case where they're probably on a similar level, but I actually don't think there's anyone where you say, oh, he's clearly better than Mbappe.
No,
that's outrageous.
He's better than a lot. He's better than the majority of Premier League attackers.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think who's better. I mean, honestly,
Mo Salah?
No,
I would say it's probably the only one.
Mo Salah is probably one of them where you'd say, okay, yeah, I can hear. I don't think it's that easy to say Mbappe is much better than Mo Salah. I think you can say Mbappe can become a better player than Mo Salah, but I don't think now. I don't think for me personally, I don't think right now Mbappe is a better player than Salah. I don't. I
think De Bruyne and Bruno on current form, because mind you, Bruno has done this for what, 18 months, 12 months?
Bruno,
and before that, he was in Portugal, so we can't really count that.
Wait. Tibbs, you're saying Mbappe is a better footballer than Bruno Fernandes?
He's a better player. If you gave me the option, who do I want, Bruno or Mbappe? I'm picking Mbappe all day. To be honest, I'm picking Mbappe over pretty much every single player in the league, apart from Harry Kane.
Guys, as much as I just discredited his goals in Liga, I honestly believe that Mbappe is top 3 best players in the world right now. There's the only people that are up there with him are Messi and Ronaldo. Let's be honest.
No, Neymar's better than him.
No, Neymar is not better than him. It's been proven that Mbappe is more influential to that PSG team than Neymar.
How's it explain that it's been proven? Sorry, yeah. How?
Just yesterday, was Neymar playing?
Yeah, but Neymar was the one that was.
Wait. Neymar didn't play yesterday.
He was injured. I don't understand.
No, my point is Neymar when he's playing and when Mbappe is missing, there's a bigger chasm in the team when Mbappe is missing than when Neymar is missing.
Yeah, but you can't just say that's the causation of it. If you got to look at why that happened. So if Mbappe is out, but also so is their best DM at the same time, and so is their best defender. And so, of course, only Neymar is gonna affect him. If Mbappe is out and the only player, if Mbappe is in and Neymar's out and the only other players are fringe players who are out, of course it's going to look better for Mbappe because he's got the best team.
Let me answer this. Let me answer this in this way possible. Who is the talisman right now for PSG? Is it Mbappe or is it Neymar? That answers your question. In my opinion, it's Mbappe.
No, I see. Again, that's an opinion. That's not a proven thing. I would personally pick Mbappe over Neymar. That's my personal preference. In terms of who's better, it really depends what you're looking for in a player. I would say Neymar is certainly more creative and a better dribbler. I would say that Mbappe is a better finisher. So it depends what you want if we're going to get really technical. But Mbappe is just amazing. And for me, I get the thing. I would say I think he's a better footballer than Bruno Fernandes. I would say that. And I love Bruno Fernandes. Everybody knows that. I think he's sensational. The fact he's only 22 as well. He has the ability and the growth still left in him to be a better football player than Neymar. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But right now, Neymar and him, I put Mo Salah on that kind of level. There's no doubt. A couple of years ago, you'd have had Eden Hazard there, but not anymore. He has to prove it again. Like he ain't delivering, so you can't say that anymore. You never quite know. But Mbappe's just there, man. He's just one of the best players in the world. Along with Messi and Ronaldo and a few others. KDB, I think, is a great shout of being up there with him from a Premier League point of view. I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, up until this season, I would have even thrown Trent's name into that mix. I would have thrown Trent's name in, but this season, he hasn't been so good. So you have to kind of push it down. There's that lad as well at Bayern Munich. I can't remember it. Kimmich. I think Kimmich, I mean, different position again. We were talking best players in the world.
I think we spoke about it in my group chat today. We were literally just waxing lyrical about Mbappe, but he's just menacing, man. And the qualities that he has as a player, whilst probably, in fact, maybe the likes of Salah and De Bruyne and Harry Kane, you could probably say, I could probably name only probably about 4 or 5 players that I can confidently say I would choose. I think they're better all-round footballers than Mbappe right now. But I feel like because of the qualities he brings and because of the quality he's producing at such a young age, it's very difficult for you to say that you're going to pick any of these players over Mbappe now if you're given the option.
Do you think, this is just a question, this is not me saying this is what I believe, this is a question. Do you think Mbappe, if you take away his pace, his blistering pace?
No, but the same goes for Salah.
No. Yeah, the same goes with Salah, but like I'm just saying, if you take away Mbappe's pace, do you think we see him in the same kind of way?
No, I don't, but I still think we see a top-notch player because his physical qualities are one of the most devastating parts about him. Like he can just
lightning.
Yeah. But I feel like even if you take away some of his physical qualities, he's that far ahead from a physical point of view that even if you chop some of that away, he's still got enough to get past players. And his technical qualities don't get spoken about enough. Like Terry said, he's an excellent finisher with both feet as well. It's not just right, left foot. He's got great movement in the box. He's versatile.
And his heading's not that bad as well. People
and he can create as well. He can put chances on the plate. He can dribble as well. So I think even if you take away his pace, of course, you don't get the same devastating player, but you still get a top-notch player nevertheless.
Yeah. And
also, people have, sorry, if I could just say one thing. Mate. People have to accept that if a player is that fast, he will know that is something that he has to make use of. Like, if he didn't have his pace, he might just make use of it in different ways. That's where the really great players, you see how Messi in his career has played, 6 or 7 different positions, and these days plays kind of a centre mid, because he knows everyone else in that midfield is kind of shit anyway at Barcelona, so he has to do everything. So he just drops there, while back in the Pep days, he was just a false 9, being there to score 91 goals in a calendar year. People like that. So if you would say he wasn't as fast, well, I'm sure he'd find a different way. And I'm not even sat here gassing, Mbappe out, but do also want to make it clear. I mean, I can't remember who said it, but someone said he might even overtake Messi and Ronaldo. No chance. No one will ever overtake what Messi and Ronaldo have done over the last 15, 20 years. That's ridiculous. They were scoring hat-tricks every week, and we got so used to it that we're now saying they're both not as good anymore because they only score 2 goals every week. Like, it's ridiculous.
I feel like they said
but there could be a passing of the torch. When I say overtake them, I mean they're going to be eventually retiring, and he's going to be the guy pushed up as that number one, the person that the benchmark that everyone looks at.
Messi and Ronaldo have done one bad thing for football. They broke the barometer on what a season for goal outputs looks like. Because, like, when I was growing up, if a player scored between 25 and 35 goals in a season across all competitions, that was looked at as brilliant. People now sort of go, it's all right, isn't it? And I'm like, no, bro, that's really good. Like, if you're like, Mo Salah's on 23 goals in all comps, and we're 24 games into the Premier League season. I don't think people realize how astronomically good that is. Less than 1% of players do that. Like, it's absolutely amazing. But yeah, Mbappe is a superstar. I can't wait to see more from this kid, and I just hope that he signs for Man United one day. Not going to happen, but there we go. Speaking of signings, Chelsea, and we want to speak Chelsea. There's 2 things I want to pull on here. Maybe they intertwine with each other. I've been reading some articles, and the headline of this article I read a couple of days ago. It was from a guy called Jay McIntosh. It was shared actually by Daniel Child, who's a Chelsea content creator. And he said that the headline was Chelsea, emotional disconnect, the feeling of wasted time, and the return of ruthless ownership. And I've kind of read through it and then kind of saw people that shared it, and I've been reading tweets across Twitter. There seems to be a percentage or a proportion of Chelsea fans who are sort of stating and commenting that since Lampard was sacked, it feels like Chelsea have died a little bit. There's a disconnect between the club and the fans. They're unhappy with how Roman got rid of Lampard, although almost instantly you've seen an improvement, clean sheets, victories, back inside the top 4. From your point of view, Lawrence, do you feel disconnected from Chelsea after Frank Lampard was dismissed? And if so, is the way Lampard was dismissed, how does that differ from how they've sacked every other single manager before him?
Yeah, you've made a very important point here. I mean, first, I don't feel the disconnect. Do I understand why some people feel it? Not really. Do I accept it? I mean, as long as they don't start insulting people over it, feel whatever you want, do whatever you like for, like it. But I think it's a bit weird because if Chelsea weren't this ruthless 15 years ago, they wouldn't love Frank Lampard as much as they do probably. Because if we weren't as ruthless, because that was part of why Chelsea were and are so successful. If we kept Villas-Boas in that season, we probably don't win the Champions League that year. And if we don't win it that year, we might have not won it until now. So if we don't have this ruthless streak about us, whether it's Roman Abramovich or the club as a whole, we probably don't have up the biggest success in our club's history existing. So I find it a bit weird. And yeah, you can probably look into it. And a lot of people have close attachments to Frank Lampard. And I get that. I totally get that. And I actually spoke about this on my channel yesterday or someone else's channel. I can't remember. But for me, it was more a case of whenever we conceded or lost, it was kind of worse while Frank was in charge because I just wanted him to do well so badly. And that's why even when we were first linked with him, I was like, am I really sure I want this? Because this is still Chelsea. And as much as Chelsea fans hoped this would finally be the long-term plan or whatever, realistically, we always knew at some point it was going to end in tears. It might have come sooner than a lot of people expected, but it was always going to end in tears at some point. And I didn't want it to end in tears with Lampard. And you could make a case that's why you don't appoint club legends as managers when you have other options. But that is kind of the issue. Chelsea didn't have other options. And obviously with reports that came out, and that's what I don't like about the club, is it really looks like they just used Lampard as a marionette to play the fans, calm everything down, transfer ban, Hazard lost. Who knows how this season might go? They had no idea how this last season was going to go. And it went a lot better than everyone expected. You know, we came fourth. I was set at the start of the season, somewhere between 6th and 8th. Is where I thought we were going to finish. It's because we lost Hazard and, you know, so many youth players. Frank Lampard, a very inexperienced manager. I didn't expect a lot, right? We very much so exceeded those expectations. And the club were probably scared of a bad season as well. We're like, well, if we get Frank Lampard in, then the fans won't go as crazy. And obviously then, you know, the global situation hit and, you know, fans couldn't go into grounds anymore anyway. And then we even started the season well. People like to forget, you know, say, oh, Spurs were talked about the title and whatever. On December 5th, Chelsea were top of the league, most goals scored and least goals conceded. But after that, everything just went tits up. Like we couldn't buy a win to save our lives. We saved Arsenal's season. Without us, they might be getting relegated. Who knows? Like, you know, we literally just handed them a lifeline. We honestly did. Like they were in the mud, 15th, and we saved them. And you're welcome. You're very welcome, right? You know, but everything was bad since then. We scraped the win against Fulham, against the 10-man Fulham. And I said this before, if the opponent is down to 10 men, as long as they just sit deep, it doesn't actually matter that much whether they're down to 10. But we weren't playing good football anymore. We weren't keeping clean sheets anymore. We were getting injuries left, right, and centre. It just wasn't good anymore. And of course, all of the reports that players were turning against Lampard and Lampard wasn't talking to some players for months. And then actually the boards were just waiting for him to drop in form and then get rid of him. And they would have even done so straight after the summer. It was all just not well anymore. So I really don't understand why it gives you an emotional disconnect, because this was inevitable. It was always going to happen that Frank Lampard was eventually going to get sacked. And if you don't know that, and if you don't like that, Chelsea's like, you know, you're going to have a lot of bad times as a Chelsea fan. Like if you're too attached to managers, like I experienced it myself when Jose got sacked both times, arguably, but especially the second time around, I was like, what are we doing? Because that's when I had this hope in my head, oh, maybe we'll get a long-term manager, right? And that didn't happen, rightfully so. And obviously that was a much worse situation. We were 1 point off the bloody relegation zone. But still, and even now with Frank, it didn't work. And now I'm sat here saying, yeah, Tuchel, they say, oh, he might not get on with the board. At this point at Chelsea, I'm like, we fall out with every manager before they ever get a chance to fall out with.
And you make a great point there. That's what happens. I don't look at anything that happened to Lampard as being unusual in the world of Chelsea Football Club. I just feel like there's a lot of Frank Lampard lovies who bought into the nonsense PR put out by the club around cultural reboot. We're going to develop Frank Lampard as a manager. He's one of our own. We're going to develop youth. We're going to do it in a different way, because we know this, and Toby will know this, Egal will know this, KJ. We've been bantering Chelsea for years about this great academy they have where nobody breaks through and nobody gets developed, as an example. And Chelsea fans, I think, quite enjoyed last season because they saw some of their kids that have grown up, they've watched grow up, get into the first team. And I think they all believed that you were moving in a new direction, and you haven't. Your owner has always been.
I still think in terms of academy, we are.
Wait, no, you've still got teams in the squad, and you're still going to develop them. The point I'm making is, if Reece James stops developing for 6 months and isn't performing, I wouldn't be shocked if you went and bought Pereira from Leicester. It wouldn't be a shocking move for me to see Chelsea Football Club go, you're not performing. Look at the way they moved out KDB and Salah. they'll do again. In the same way they'll move a manager. Chelsea Football Club care about winning and winning only. And sometimes I wish my football club was more ruthless and had an eye for wanting to win trophies more than just the romance side of it. Toby, from your point of view, do you feel like Chelsea fans should be happy with the sacking of Lampard and the appointment of Tuchel? Or do you get where some are coming from that they feel disconnected?
No, I don't get why they feel disconnected. I think they should be delighted that Frank Lampard's been sacked. I understand that he's one of their own. They have a good feeling towards him as a player for his time at Chelsea, but they were not enjoying what they were seeing on the pitch. And I'm sorry, you support Chelsea Football Club. You don't support Frank Lampard. You support Chelsea Football Club, and you want to see your club do well. And if the guy at the helm is underperforming to the level that he was underperforming at, why wouldn't you want to see him go? They've won like 4 games straight since he's left. Yes, most of those teams they played are bums, Spurs included. And yes, I called us bums. Spurs included. But they've won 4 straight, and all of a sudden
with the cup.
5 straight. Sorry, yeah. All of a sudden,
you see how Loss has to get that in there as well. He's feeling the Tuchel tactics, man. Like they're on the 5.
Yeah, like all of a sudden they're now back into the top 4. So any Chelsea fan who's crying about Frank Lampard being sacked just needs to wake up and smell the coffee. He wasn't good enough to get the job in the first place, and he was only given it on the premise that they had that 18-month ban, and there was all this fan pressure about how he should get it. Roman wanted to try something different in light of the fact that he couldn't spend normally like he would do. Frank Lampard brought in a bunch of kids, but he didn't even utilize them properly. How many kids can you say have kicked on properly under his tenure at Chelsea, apart from maybe Reece James? Okay, sorry, Reece James and Mason Mount, 2. Tomori, he casted him out and sent him to Milan, who performed better than Rudiger, who performed better than Christensen, and yet he's having to play in Italy. Callum Hudson-Odoi, he's meant to be the best thing since sliced bread. Why are we only seeing him get ample and consistent game time under Thomas Tuchel? People just don't want to accept the fact that Frank Lampard isn't a good manager, and he was underperforming at his job. It's that simple. Chelsea are fighting because of it now. So stop your tears and enjoy the football that you're seeing, because you're now in a position where top 4, you're thinking it's definitely on the cards, when it wasn't the case 5 or 6 weeks ago.
I don't see why football fans like when it comes to managers, it only ends 2 ways. Like it only ends 2 ways. They either leave the best thing since sliced bread, and you love them, or they get sacked and it ends in tears. I don't see what Chelsea fans were expecting. There's no in between. There was not going to be this whole he survives 2 years and then he hands the keys over to the next manager and everyone's all lovey-dovey. No, he was going to get sacked or he was going to win trophies. That was it. And that's what it is with all managers.
Don't discount the fact that they felt. I'm not a Chelsea fan, obviously, but there's Chelsea fans that felt like they were lied to, or they were sold a dream that was never real, and that's why some of them are upset. Like I've watched some of their videos.
Be upset.
That makes sense.
Be upset with Roman for 5 minutes, and then open your eyes and be like, "Oh, Tuchel's actually a good manager, and he be playing good football."
Sorry, but Egal, that's what I'm saying to you here, right? About your point with Jack Grealish. Nobody at Chelsea ever came out and actually said that this romance is real. It was just sort of little bits leaked into the press to make everybody feel better about the transfer ban not being on. And then it was pro-Chelsea journalists who will always, whatever the club's doing, they'll blow smoke up the club's arse. So they get the exclusive interviews with the new signings and everything else. The journalists I trust the least with stories about the clubs are the ones closest to the club, because they release information the club want. They're a mouthpiece for the football club half the time. Same thing with you with the whole Jack Grealish thing, mate. Like I'm telling you, the way you feel about Jack Grealish is how some Chelsea fans felt about this romantic Disney story with Frank Lampard as the star. Do you know what I mean? Like you kissed a frog and he turned into a prince nonsense. No, Chelsea are a business that are about winning trophies. And if you're not winning trophies, you're done. You're finished. You're out of there. Sorry, Lawrence, you were going to speak, bro.
Yeah, because I thought you made a good point in terms of be upset with Roma, be upset with the board for a while if you're so closely attached to Frank Lampard. I wouldn't put it as much as, oh, we should be delighted that Frank was sacked. I don't know who would be like the Spurs equivalent to Frank Lampard. I don't know if you have such a thing. What?
There's Poch is that equivalent, if not more.
No, but not as a player, but as in terms of a legend, right?
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
That attachment that obviously Chelsea fans had to him, that's why it hurts. And even I was like, after we lost 2-0 to Leicester, I was like, I think he's going to get sacked now. I was never running out here. I want him to get sacked. I was always like, okay, yes, I am a content creator, but at the same time, I can't control whether the club sack him or not. So I won't run around slewing Frank Lampard. I didn't ever feel the need for that, no matter how bad the performance has got. I don't think, I think he's warranted that respect as a player and to some extent also as a manager, that we don't run around doing that. To be honest, I think we shouldn't do that about anybody anyway. But to say we should be, super happy that we sacked him, I don't think it's right. But for fans to say we don't have I saw a super chat earlier that said this, Frank Lampard gave Chelsea a soul and now it's gone. I don't understand where that comes from, because they're all hyped up, these youth players, and I'm one of them. But these youth players are still here. You still have Mason Mount playing week in, week out under Thomas Tuchel. You still have Reece James playing a lot of games. You still have Tammy Abraham playing a lot of games. If it's just Frank Lampard, why were you so hyped about the youth players? Why aren't they soul of the club? I mean, they've been here since they were 8 years old. If John Terry made it through and been this Mr. Chelsea person, and Frank Lampard as well, why can't these guys? So I don't understand where this, without Lampard, we don't have a soul. Like, I don't understand that at all. And yeah, you can be angry at the board, fair enough. But the team is not just the board. You support Chelsea. You don't support the Chelsea board and Roman Abramovich. Support Chelsea. And the players deserve support.
What I love about the Tuchel appointment? It's this kind of notion to fans who sort of believe, like Man United fans have done it. If we get rid of Ollie, that's it. My players I hate, like Scott McTominay and Rashford, are going to stop getting played. I mean, there's never any guarantees of that. What I love about Tuchel is he's still playing Mason Mount, which has wound up people like David on our channel that were like, Mount's done as soon as the new manager comes in. A lot of Chelsea fans give so much crap to Jorginho and Alonso. They're now massively in favour. And it just, as much as we all know a lot about football, half the time players aren't performing is because of relationships with managers, as opposed to tactics, systems are actually being good enough. And that's the main reason that Frank Lampard went, because he didn't know how to manage the personal relationships with these players. He was very sort of Jose-esque in his kind of ostracizing of people. He didn't say a word to Alonso for 3 months. I mean, it's just a madness to treat anyone like that in any kind of professional. Imagine you fall out with your boss at work and your boss blanks you for 3 months. You're not really going to want to perform and deliver to the highest standards possible. A comment here says, no one outside of England believes Salah over Mbappe. Fair enough.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I agree.
Is what it is at the end of the day. We don't have Man United don't have Salah or Mbappe.
Yeah.
Like, I'm easy. If someone said to me Mbappe is better than Salah, I'm easy. But I personally think Salah has performed at a higher level than Mbappe has over the last 2-3 year period. At club level, not internationally, at club level.
But I know we're completely different discussion, but does performing better mean being a better player? Because then we can't compare players anymore, because you can't compare Salah's goals to something a centre-back does. Like, that's incomparable. So then we can't, in my opinion, we always have to talk about ability. And Salah scores a great amount of goals, but even Liverpool players have said he doesn't even have the best left foot at Liverpool. So how can you talk about him being that good? Like, do you know what I mean? They say
you also have to look at teams. You also have to look at teams, which league they're in. If you're at PSG, you're going to get a lot more chances than you would be getting if you're in Liverpool in a tougher league. I think so.
I don't know. I mean, look, I think we'll make good points. The ability versus performance has always been an interesting one for me. And maybe it's my career. Maybe it's me as a person. I'm an outputs person. That doesn't mean stat pad. That's all about stats. It kind of is. Like, if you're going to argue with me that striker A is better than striker B on ability, but striker A only scores 20 goals a season and striker B scoring 50, I don't care about your ability when my guy's getting 30 more goals a season. That's more important. And there are always nuances. Does he break up the play? Does he ruin the approach play? All that sort of nonsense as an example.
Yeah, Tobe should know about ruining approach play. You know what I'm saying? Man like Lukaku and that. You can't. I
did see that earlier as well.
I was on the Twitter stream earlier on, and they were telling me I look like Lukaku as well because I'm wearing this. And
the Intershirt as well. Oh.
Yeah, that's funny.
I think it's the little goatee as well, bruv, that does it. But yeah,
well, at least
can I say one thing on that Chelsea thing? Can I say one thing on that?
We'll come back to that in a minute. But no, as I say, I think for me, performance matters, but performance over ability, if the level of performance is consistently better than the person with better ability, that makes sense as a statement.
But I just think with Mo Salah, like, don't get it twisted. Mbappe is an incredible footballer as well, but I feel like Mo Salah's technical attributes are slept on because I feel like for some reason or another he looks, I don't know, like he doesn't look as tidy as most, but he's a dribbler. He can beat players. He's got an excellent left foot. He's a good playmaker. He puts chances on a plate for his strikers, and he can finish. He scored free kicks. He scored outside the box, inside the box. He's consistent. He's actually played through the middle and scored. Like, I feel like with Mo Salah, as I said, the Mo Salah Mbappe argument, it's not a hard yes or no. Like, it can go both ways. If you said you can make a case for Mbappe being better than Mo Salah, the same way you can make a case for Salah being better than Mbappe. But what I think should be the unified view is that it's not like there's a huge gap separating both players because both are operating at a ridiculous level.
And Toby, you make a great point there. For me, that's where when I use statistics and I say I'm an output person, it's when I'm comparing two people of fairly similar ability. So if you're going to be looking at Haaland versus Mbappe, or Haaland versus another central striker, and they're both at the elite level, both playing in top leagues, what I'll separate them on is their outputs, because the problem with ability talk is it all then becomes really subjective. Egal might prefer a player that's better at dribbling, where I might prefer someone who's better at passing the ball, as an example. So then you get into like weird little nuanced arguments, which are not only really based on our own preferences. So when I look at KDB and I look at Bruno, I would say I can see technical things that are better about KDB, but they're both really good. So for me, how I judge them each season is who performs the best, in my view, because that's the fair way.
Unless you're playing the same
That's
team,
this is where the water. Go on, sorry, go on.
Unless you're playing the same team and same position, isn't the whole comparing stats down to subjectivity as well? Because you're comparing different leagues, you're comparing different teams, you're comparing different teammates. Don't all of your opinions on those, affect how you rate?
You sound like someone.
There's one more thing he forgot.
Was that your defense of Hazard every time he had a bad season? You blamed he was around him. You're one of them guys, isn't it? Like, it's not Hazard's fault. It's who he's playing with. And you are right. But based on that, like, again, it's a great point you make, because I always attack United fans for this. So they'll come out and say, like, Pogba and Martial are being held back by Ollie's tactics, but come out every day and slam Rashford about how bad a football player he is. It's like, well, if Martial's being held back because of Ollie, then so must Rashford be. People just need to be consistent with it. And of course, you have to take those things into consideration. Is it easier to score goals, generally speaking, in France than it is in the Premier League? We'd all say yes. So if Rashford scored 30 league goals in the season and Mbappe scored 40, and you said who had the best season, I would maybe argue Rashford on goal scoring. Does that make sense? I wouldn't say he's a better player because the league's harder. So I think those things can be done. Egal, sorry, you're going to say something, mate.
When doing these comparisons, whenever we do a comparison, for example, players who play in different leagues, if you watch that said league more often, you're going to see that player's faults more often. So, for example, we watch the Premier League. We're going to see Mo Salah's faults. We're going to see Harry Kane's faults. So when we compare them to Lewandowski or anybody else, we don't see all of Lewandowski's faults. So we're not going to actually be able to do a non-biased comparison because we see one person's faults. In addition to when we do eras, if the nostalgia for Henry will always have my comparison way more towards Henry than an Mbappe, for example. Even if Mbappe goes on to have a better career, my nostalgia will always have that bias towards that. Also being a fan of the club. So there's always going to be biases and other things that go into these comparisons that we're missing when you say, oh, just talking about teams. There's other things that also get into play.
Yeah. I mean, that's all fair. But do you know what? If we boil down everything, there's no more football debate. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you need to have these conversations, and I think they all do that. But I think the resounding point here is that these Chelsea fans have got to stop whining and be happy with Tuchel, innit? Like, I think as a Man United, I think all of us, actually, Egal won't admit this. I know, Toby, would you take Tuchel right now for in place of Jose?
He's a racist, but 1,000%. 1,000.
What?
Is he?
He is. For what?
Don't think you're going to say that as a fact. But
Yeah, I would
it
take
is-
him. I'll take him in a heartbeat over Jose Mourinho.
Over that. Egal, would you swap Mikel Arteta for Thomas Tuchel?
I would be an idiot not to. He's a better manager in the sense that he's experienced and he's
No,
been
he's a
doing
better
it for a
manager.
long time.
Have you seen?
No.
you see how
He's
Egal
a
said
better
that?
manager in the sense that he has the experience and he's done it and been there, and he has the tactical nouns to get himself out of situations that Arteta has not gone through yet. So on that fact, I would have to say Tuchel. I'm not gonna lie here.
No, you see the way he went. You see the way that I would be an idiot not to.
Listen.
Deep down, he wants to say Arteta's the best.
Listen, Thomas Tuchel has come in. Thomas Tuchel has come in and he's taken a team that was level on points with us to now fighting for top 4 and going almost. They could be second in the league at the end of the season. You never know.
Man, like Egal Hancock.
You know what? Egal Hancock, I was about to say, man comes in with his little political spin all the damn time. It annoys me. It doesn't annoy me. Saying it annoys me is probably the wrong way to talk about it. But, bruv, you got to stop this nonsense, bruv. He is. I know. I don't even need to ask KJ. I know we'd both swap Ollie for Tuchel.
Hell yes, fam.
He wouldn't even need to debate it. I'd be like straight on that, like 100%. I love Ollie. I'll always love Ollie for what he's done for my football club. But I'll drive him to the airport. I'll do whatever's needed to make sure that's done.
Yeah, Terry, would you? This is a mad question. Would you take Eddie Howe over Ollie?
Eddie Howe, no. And the reason I say that is because I think for me, I mean, again, I say these things with respect, right? Sort of feel like one thing Ollie has as an advantage is he's played at a club the size of Man United. I always go back to an interview that Dimitar Berbatov did, and he spoke about when he went from Tottenham, who are a big club with a big global fan base, where he toured around the world with them on pre-seasons, and then he joined Man United, and he said it was like Beatlemania. That kind of scrutiny and pressure, it takes a particular. That's why I've got reservations over my favorite young manager coming up, Julian Nagelsmann. To go from RB Leipzig to Beatlemania Man United at 33, 34 years of age, I don't know if mentally, I don't know how he'll cope with that. Maybe he'll be fine. But when you think about people in very senior positions and very public positions in life in general, how many are Nagelsmann's age? I can't think of any off the top of my head, if that makes sense. So there's an element of when it comes to managing Man United, I think you need to be a little more tried and tested, a little bit more experienced, and a little bit older. And Eddie Howe, I don't know. I just sort of feel like it'd be too much for someone like him.
Toby.
He's not.
Toby, would you take Eddie Howe over Mourinho?
You know what I said as a joke to my friends, even before he got hired, that like I don't want this guy so bad that I would even take Eddie Howe, but I was joking. It's tongue in cheek. I wouldn't take him over Mourinho. No, I like the football he plays, but he couldn't even. He didn't have a good balance of attack versus defense at Bournemouth, and the highest he's managed is at Bournemouth. He's nowhere near good enough to manage at Spurs, even if that means that we keep the rotten Mourinho.
Oh, yeah, and Egal, I know Lowes is definitely not taking. No one would take Eddie Howe over Tuchel. Would you take Eddie Howe over Arteta?
Don't do that.
You would, wouldn't you?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
You would, wouldn't you?
Just stop.
We have a super chat here. I want to go through. It says Mbappe, Haaland, Foden. I think that's meant to be Foden.
Yeah.
Rank them from best to
That's
worst.
That is so hard.
It's in order. It's in order, isn't it?
It's in order. Yeah, it's in order. It is.
You're on the low. Haaland's a fraud. If you guys seen how many, if you guys have seen the amount of chances this guy gets per game that he misses. I've watched Dortmund a couple times, like the 5 times I've watched.
Conversion rate is 50%.
I don't care.
So what you say?
From what I've seen, I don't care. There's a Bundesliga tax on that.
I'm talking about the eye test. I don't care about stats.
This is crazy. I'm sorry. Yes, Haaland misses chances, but shock horror. Striker who gets lots of chances misses chances. How unbelievable is that? Like that.
Water is wet.
I'm gonna quote the greatest goal scorer in my opinion, Chelsea and Tottenham's history. Now, I met this guy a number of times. My dad worked with him as an after dinner speaker. He should be Sir. I don't know if he is, but Sir Jimmy Greaves, who Cristiano Ronaldo only recent times past his goal scoring record. That's how good a goal scorer Jimmy Greaves was. And he said, if I scored all the chances I missed and I missed all the chances I scored, my goal tally would be more than double what I've got right now. And he is one of the greatest goal scorers in the history of football, period. Lionel Messi's conversion rate over the last 10 years is around 16.5 to 17%. So what does that mean, right? When I grew up as a kid, Andy Cole used to get criticized for missing too many chances. You need 4 opportunities a game to score 1 goal. And it was one of these weird, obscure stats that was thrown out that we in that era had no way of debunking. We couldn't go on the internet. Internet didn't exist, by the way, when Andy Cole was at his pomp at Man United. I don't think it existed, not like it is now. So I couldn't go on the internet and go onto Squawker or Y-Scout and find this out. But as you get older, you realize if you have a 25% conversion rate, that's pretty damn elite, you know.
I mean,
25%.
I know you love a stat, Terry, but like there is a difference in goal, like in conversion rate in terms of, do you have that chance 2 yards from goal or do you shoot from 25 yards out?
Oh, you talking about XG. You sound like David with XG now. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm not even going to XG. I'm just saying.
Cool. So if you want me to be sure
from outside the box, God knows how many times, and Haaland has his shot in his effort from inside.
And that's a fair challenge, and that's a fair challenge, which I think stands up. For me, when I did the breakdown of shots inside the box to outside, Lionel Messi's conversion rate from inside the box was at something like 19.5%. I'd have to go back and check as an average over the years. Being between elite level attacking players average out between around 17 and 22% over a 10-year period when you break it down. That's about right. And that's because, and of course, his conversion rate of 6-yard tap-ins is probably at about 80% because how many people actually miss them? But it's a combination.
Can I elaborate though?
Haaland isn't just scoring 2-yard tap-ins. He's scoring all manner of goals. Sorry, Egal, go on, mate.
But Terry, let me give you more context. He's already, how many years has he been doing this? 2 years? Now he's been playing at the top of the level. He just came to Dortmund last year. He was playing at Salzburg. He's playing in the academy levels and for the under 21s for his country. He hasn't been doing it for long enough for me to put him in the same level of some of the people that people are putting him next to. So we need to see a longer term before we can categorize him where people are categorizing. People are trying to put him in elite category and world class category. Not yet. You need a longer body of work. For me, at least, I'm the same guy who says you need a longer body of work to put this guy in that category. You cannot just put him there yet.
No, he's an elite goal scorer, Egal.
You can say he's an elite goal scorer, but you cannot say he's an elite striker at the top of the top with everybody else who's up there.
So Lionel Messi this season, his big chance conversion rate is 17.8%. Just putting it out there. But he has a lot of big chances created for him in La Liga. He doesn't score them all. We have this
but my point
that he does. It's a weird one. Listen, I hear what you're saying, but listen, what you just said there about Haaland is quite considered. What you did before is call him a fraud. There's a difference between what you just said.
That's why I'm explaining it.
But you can't call him a fraud if you want more from him.
You can call someone who's world class a fraud. We've already gone through this.
No, but Egal, you called him a fraud, but then said, I want to see more from him. How is he a fraud?
So sorry. Before I ended, I was looking at something because I'm quite analytical. I don't like to be all the way stats driven, but I like to use stats in context. And that fraud thing really just like shook me up and rubbed me up the wrong way. This guy's got 23 goals and 23 appearances this season for Dortmund. He scored 16 goals in 18 appearances last season. And if you want to say, oh yeah, he misses a lot of chances. I'm not sure if any of you lot use XG. I know Lawrence was mentioning it early on, but typically the best strikers in world football, yeah, they tend to outperform their expected goals, which is the number of chances they get, a number of big chances they get in a game versus the number of chances they actually convert. Erling Haaland is outperforming his XG both 2 seasons back to back now, but within at the Borussia Dortmund quite considerably. I'll even read you his stats. So he scored 15 goals in 16 appearances for Dortmund this season, but his expected goals is 12.51, which means he's outperforming his XG by 2.47. Last season, 15 league appearances, 13 goals, which means, and his XG was 8. His XG was 8.89, which means he outperformed his XG by 4.11, which tells you fundamentally that this is a guy who more often than not only needs a half chance and he's going to score. It means that this is a guy who's clinical. And it also means when he's scoring all these goals and he's getting all these chances that he has excellent movement. So whether he's missing chances, whether he's scoring chances, the fact that he's scoring goals at this rate, at such a young age, needs to tell you that he's anything but a fraud.
And the movement is something that doesn't get sort of taken into consideration enough. Again, listening to a talk years ago that Ian Wright gave, and somebody said, how come you're always in the right place at the right time to tap in those goals? They almost tried to make it a bit of a flippant thing about you score a lot of tap-ins. And he just said, it's just I can read the game and I kind of feel like I know where the ball might go. That's intelligence. That is legitimate, quantifiable football intelligence. And strikers have that more than defenders. How often do you see a goalie spill a ball, but the attacker's there before the defender? Why? Because that level of football intelligence, that reading of the game, predatory strikers have it in abundance. They tend to have it more than even the greatest defenders because they see what could happen. The instinct is there. And then they've got to convert on it. And I was looking at here. So this season in their respective leagues, you're right, Messi's had a lot more shots than Haaland. So Messi's had 84 shots. The accuracy, though, is 70% of them have been on target. But he's only scored 70 of them. Sorry, 17%, which tells me there's more shots from distance. Quite a few of them are going straight at a goalkeeper. So they're on target with the goalie saving them or catching them. Haaland this season, he's had 45 shots. 62 have been on target. Of those 62% that have been on target, 87% have required what they call a save, which isn't just catching the ball, it's saving it, where only 42% of Messi's have required a save. So you put all those statistics together, you get that idea. Conversion rate in the league of 33% for Haaland. It's around 52% in all competitions. But they've both got 15 goals each. You can't really compare the two because they play a different position, but I'm just trying to put it into context that, like, calling Haaland a fraud, and his shooting accuracy is so good, he scored 15 goals from just 45 shots. His movement in the box, he's above the XG level. His shooting accuracy that forces 80% of his shots that don't go in require proper saves to be made. Do you know how good that is?
Egal, is Leroy a fraud then? Because he misses all the chances.
Listen,
it's weird anyway. How did we get this? I thought we was comparing Foden and Mbappe and Haaland.
Egal says
it's so different. You can't
listen,
get.
I might have chosen the wrong words.
You did.
What I would say is at this point in his career, we need to see more from him before we can put him in that elite category. I just don't see how you can put him.
He's an elite talent, and you know what else, Egal? It's weird. You're an Arsenal fan. You of all people should know more than ever that missing chances necessarily isn't a bad thing. Aubameyang has been missing a lot of chances his whole career. At Dortmund, he scored 40 goals a season, and he missed a heck of a lot of chances at the same club. So you of all people should know that, because just missing chances is not the only indicator for you to say that Erling Haaland is a fraud. You shouldn't even be using the fraud word altogether when you're describing this guy, because he's outperforming strikers who you would call, I don't know, top class strikers. I just think you need to give him some respect, mate.
There's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying he is a very talented player. I personally need to say more. I need to see more at a consistent level in the next few years for me to say certain things. That's calm. But when you say stuff like fraud and your reason is because he misses chances, bruv, there's no leg to stand on, fam. There is no leg to stand on.
Listen. Lukaku was scoring a bag of goals.
So you're twisting it now with Lukaku. Man United fans' problem with Lukaku is his approach play. His approach play wasn't good enough, and it was required in the style that was needed. If Man United were playing with a system like Inter do, where he's the cherry on top of the icing, he's where the final ball goes to, they're not going to play through him, they're playing into him. He's a different player to me. Plus, we played wrong with Lukaku. We tried to play him as a target man. He ain't.
You know what it is with Lukaku?
No, that's it, Toby. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about yourself.
I'm not even a United fan, but I actually watch. I watch a crazy amount of football. With Lukaku at Man United, there's no shame in saying it. He did miss a lot of chances. If you look at his conversion rate at Man United in the 2-year period in comparison to what we saw at Everton, he was missing a lot of chances. His goal tally decreased. You saw that, especially in his last season. I don't even want to look at what his XG was, but he missed a bag of clear-cut chances.
Tobes, this is how bad it was. There was a thing I used to call the rum omen, which is where in the first 5 minutes of a game, Lukaku would get a chance, he would miss, and then we go on to draw or lose the game because he missed that chance.
Yeah, he missed chances, but this is what I'm saying. At Inter Milan, his all-round approach play that Terry said was lacking at United, and it's improved. And now, in addition to the fact that they're playing more to his strengths, he has upped his game on a personal level, and the team they actually play through him. He combines with Lautaro Martinez, but he is the guy who literally carries the team. He puts chances on the plate for Lautaro as well, and I feel like strikers like him, they're allowed to miss chances. As long as for me, if a striker's scoring, I don't know, if he gets 10 chances in the game and he misses 4 out of 10, but he's scoring 6 out of 10 and he's consistently ensuring that he's in the position to get 10 out of 10 chances, I don't see the issue.
No, I hear you on that. And I think when it comes to Lukaku at United, when you listen to actually what Lukaku himself said, like, he just didn't want to be there wasn't an issue. I think if he wanted to stay at Man United, I think Ollie would have made it work with him. He just kind of spoke to Ollie and said, I just want to change. It hasn't quite worked out. I want to move on. And they've got a good relationship. Like, Lukaku speaks glowingly of Ollie, which is one of the things that I wish some of our previous managers that were better technically than Ollie had was his man management ability. But I'm just looking here at like Lukaku's sort of statistical output this year. Conversion rate, 36%. He has 16 goals, all from inside the box from 44 shots. So he's like, and that's in 21 games, right? So it's pretty much identical to Haaland. Why Haaland is so impressive? He's done it in 16 games. He's played 5 games less. It's just astronomical. Kylian Mbappe this year, 21 games in the league, 16 goals in total, 28% conversion rate. Like, these guys are elite level strikers. It shows that rate. That's why when you look at Haaland, whether it's visual or whether it's statistical output, you know what I always say to people when it comes to stats, or stat merchant, when you actually compare the best and you start going through their statistics, they're all so similar. They really are, because they're at the top end of that spectrum. There shouldn't be. If, for instance, you're going to find me a player that you say is as good as Mo Salah, if he is as good as Mo Salah, his statistical outputs, the evidence will be there. Because if he loses the ball more than Salah, if his passing is not as accurate, if his shooting is not as accurate, his stats won't be as accurate, as high. But if he isn't outputting at the same level, he can't be as good as him. Like, it's just a fact. Facts of nature.
How do you categorize elite? Do you categorize elite above world class? Because for me, elite is categorized above world class.
Well, world class is the best, bruv.
No, what I categorize it as, my categories are world class is below elite. Elite is only meant for the top 5 players in the world.
Surely that's what world class should be, and elite is
because you can be considered world class, but not elite. For example,
I've listened to this issue before, but you're bringing this weird North American stuff to our game, bruv. That world class is the pinnacle. There's only 2 players in the world.
There's people who must agree with me on this.
Yeah, but that probably are. I'm not going to lie to you. You didn't come out elite. You guys, that's 2 very different things. Saying he's not elite or he's a fraud.
I love. Sorry, Tom's reaction killed me. He was like, "Yeah, there probably are people that agree with you, Egal." He didn't want to say he did.
I don't know. So for me, listen, and this is the one thing about arguing about generational talents or world class. Everybody's got their own tiering system in their head, and it sometimes break things up. It's like I said, it is what it is. But for me, I would say world class is it. I have said for years that Messi and Ronaldo were beyond world class, and I don't know what I call it. Sort of
aliens.
Yeah, from other planets. For me, that's the level. When I think of the word elite, I think elite end of the spectrum. So if I say someone's crap, I mean they're crap at the elite level. They're better than a championship player, but like I'm talking about elite level. Elite level are people that ball in the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A. What's the other league? The Bundesliga. They're for me the 4 elite leagues where you are to perform at a high level in those leagues. You need to be an elite level football player, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're getting some people agree with you.
We need to put a poll out.
No, it's not ridiculous. It's not a ridiculous statement. I've
never heard anyone say in my life.
Harry, we literally spoke about this in the group chat. I
know it's my group chat for the Football Terrace. I have it on mute, bruv. Because some days there's 2,000 messages in there. I ain't reading 2,000 messages. That ain't happening. Christopher here, the super chat says, who?
That's Lukaku's middle name, I think.
There we go.
Yeah, Bolingoli, it is.
Yeah, I couldn't even read that. There we go. Oh, that weren't the super chat. Who clicked on that?
No, you did, bro. The thing moved up.
chat must have moved. Sorry. As a North American, Egal is wrong. In the US, it's GOAT, then world class, then elite. Well, but the GOAT thing annoys me as well, though.
Greatest of all time.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, but GOAT can't change every year. I hear people go, he's a new GOAT now. Well, he's the new greatest of all time. No. Then why are you calling him a GOAT, bro? I don't get it. Maybe I'm old. Maybe
GOAT really and truly should be reserved for one. So in the NFL, it is Tom Brady. Tom Brady is bigger than the actual league itself because it's a madness. In the NFL, in NBA, people argue between Michael Jordan and LeBron James, but there's always, it has to be one. In football, Maradona's the GOAT, and so is Pele, and so is Ronaldo, and so is Messi. Like, it's just like, pick one, people, please.
No disrespect.
Have you ever heard of Mount Rushmore? The mountain where they have all the greatest presidents in the United States. They use that for sporting analogies. They're like, what are the top 4 players that get in the Mount Rushmore?
So, again, no disrespect to it, and sort of North American netball and that funny rugby game, right? Don't compare it to football. Football's elite, bro. Football is above all those sports. Right? There's nothing worry about them, man. Do you know what I mean? They're world champions when they only beat Americans. Weirdos, bro. Weirdos. I'm telling you.
No, we started a basketball war in the chat. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm only joking. They're really good sports. They're brilliant. I just don't watch them. I watched the Super Bowl, and that's it because I ain't got time for anything else. I'm
still pissed about that. Still pissed.
There we go. Listen, Pele is the GOAT. See, I just disagree with everybody, mate. It is the one and only greatest footballer of all time. His name is the best. He's George Best. But there we go. We're not going to get into that debate because everyone's going to be mad. When you can wear steel toe cap boots, run in mud when you're pissed, you're the best. Like, you know what I mean? No, listen, it's so hard to break down because of eras. I don't know if basketball has the same thing era-wise. Like, I don't know. I don't understand sport enough to debate it. But with football, it's so hard to compare someone from Pele's era to Maradona's era to now. Do you get what I mean? There's so many differences in balls, the boots, the grass, the professionalism, the drinking and whatnot. But I don't know. There we go. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, a massive thank you to all of you. Toby and Lawrence, the links for their Twitter accounts, etc., are all in the description below now. So if you haven't been out of the stream and back, refresh it. Go make sure you give them both a follow right about now. Egal and KJ, you know where they're at. They're up on the screen as well. You can see them a little bit clearer as well with different Twitter handles, etc. Thanks, boys, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Good chat.
Thank you.
Everyone who's tuned in, smash that like and share button. We're back live tonight after Everton versus Man City. So make sure you're tuning in for that. Until then, take care. Goodbye. God